Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, November the 12th, 2024. I hope everybody is having a good day. I want to pay tribute to a man whom I never met, but who had a tremendous impact on my life. He passed away. Actually, he was buried on this day, specifically in the year of 1959. That was 65 years ago. His name was Frank S. Land. I have a biography of him here called Hi Dad, the story of Frank S. Land and the Order of Demolay. This book was written by Herb Duncan. Um, Herbert Ewing Duncan, an architect, active mason and Shriner. And I noticed that Brother Duncan died on the 15th of September, 1972. This was just a few weeks after I was initiated as an entered apprentice mason. But Dad Land, um, as he was known, was quite a phenomenal individual. He was descended from a number of people, including Daniel Boone. And interestingly enough, so was William Wells Brown, the Black Rider. Uh, Boone was not, Boone himself was a Mason. And it was, he was born in 1890, Dad Land was. And he was born in Kansas City, but he lived for a while in St. Louis. At the turn of the century, St. Louis was preparing for the 1904 World's Fair. And I have to have all my dates down properly. His birthday was June 21st, 1890. He died on November 8th, 1859. He was a business and community leader in Kansas City, a member of Ivanhoe Lodge number 446. He held a number of important offices, including Imperial Potentate of the Shrine. And in Kansas City, he gained a reputation as the boy preacher at his Sunday school at the Fountain Park Congregational Church. And apparently he began teaching classes at his house when he was 10 years old, and a lot of people attended, so he knew the Bible very well. He attended the Kansas City Art Institute, and age 21 was elected president of the Municipal Art Club in Kansas City. And he married Nell M. Wazinski, or Swazewski, on September 15, 1913, at Bud Park Christian Church. And he didn't finish high school. He dropped out in order to help with his family business, which was a restaurant. And he did pretty good in business down through the years. When his parents separated, his father remained in St. Louis, and Frank and his mother and sister returned to Kansas City. And he was always a voracious reader and a lot of interest in history, just like me. And he did study art. And in 1910, he began working as a part-time artist for the Kansas City Star. He helped organize the Municipal Art League and launched a campaign for city improvement. It was his grandmother who urged him to become a Mason. It was on June 21st, 1911, just an ordinary day in early summer until his entire family came to the restaurant singing happy birthday, piling gifts on the table. But there was no visible gift from his grandmother. Frank, her comment was, "You're now 21 years old. I'm proud of you and what you've done." Then handing him an envelope, he continued, "Your grandfather was a Mason. I would be happy if you joined the fraternity he loved. In his memory and as a gift for you, from me, you will find this envelope the money necessary for you to present a petition for the degrees of Masonry. Do as your heart directs, but it would please me so much to have you do this." And he did. He took the degrees of the Blue Lodge, Scottish Rite, York Rite, and Shrine, all in the years 1912 to 1913. And in September 1914, he became secretary and administrator of the Masons Relief Commission with an office in the Scottish Rite Temple in Kansas City. During World War I, the work of the Masonic Relief Committee expanded to include direct relief in the form of food and clothing to those in need, regardless of race or creed. I would like to think that some of those help may have been Prince Hall Masons. Keep in mind, this was during the days of Jim Crow. Were there any black DeMolays during Dad Land's lifetime? I'm sad to say no. However, there are today, and it's my understanding that he became a good friend of, the book doesn't say this, but I've read elsewhere that he was a good friend of P.G. Porter, the Grand Master of the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Kansas. And he wrote for Brother Porter the Ritual of the Knights of Pythagoras, an organization similar to De Molay. Now, and the charity ball held each year in Kansas City Convention Hall was to raise money for the Masonic Relief Commission under their executive secretary, Frank S. Land. He did a lot of charitable work. And been pointed out here, a day can be changed or a great moment launched by a single phone call. That is true. Phone calls can make you or break you. I've had some of the most frustrating experiences I've ever had, though, have been about people who would not return phone calls. Sometimes, if they would call you back, there'd be some valuable information, but they refuse to do so, and you never get the information you need. Who had recently lost his father. It was on February the 19th, 1919, 58 years before my wife and I got married. Frank Land met with Lewis Lower and 8 other boys to talk about organizing a club. And these became the original 9 DeMolays. None of them were from wealthy families. And there was talk about names from the Bible or names from history. And they were interested in knowing, about famous Freemasons or those who had influenced Freemasonry. And Dad Land had an extensive library. Why I keep saying Dad? Well, I'll get to that in a minute. He was commander of the DeMolay Council of Kadosh, one of the organizations of the Scottish Rite. He told the boys about DeMolay, about Jacques de Molay, carried the story of the past to the present. The boys wanted to know more about this period of history. Jacques de Molay was the last Grand Master of the Knights Templar, and he was burned at the stake on March 18, 1314. He refused to reveal the secrets of the order. He refused to tell where the treasure was buried and to disclose the identity of the brethren in hiding. So as a result, he was put to death and is seen as a martyr to loyalty and toleration. And so we see this inspiration for Jacques de Molay. And it was on this day of March 18th. This was in 1919, the anniversary of the execution of Jacques de Molay, that the organization was officially established in Kansas City. It was originally de Molay Council. The minimum age was 14. 16 at the time. It was later lowered to 14 and finally to 13. I was 16 when I joined Waco chapter. That was in 1967. In the spring of 70, I served as master counselor at Waco chapter. Then in 1972, I aged out when I turned 21. But the title of president was changed to master and later master counselor. And his older friend, Frank Marshall, was a Kansas City newspaper man and prominent Mason. And it was he that wrote the ritual. And I keep saying dad. Well, he was married, but he didn't have any children. But he was a father figure to a lot of boys. And the boys call me dad. He said they had been at a loss as to just what to call me. It seems they were reluctant to call me Frank because of our age difference and felt Mr. Land was sort of formal. Louis Lorg started calling me dad and the others followed. We're all pleased. I liked it. The boys liked it. Dad was just right. It carries respect and confidence. I'm proud to be so designated. In de Molay, when I came in, the chapter advisor was the late T. Hugh Cahey. To me, he'll always be Dad Cahey. And I know that he was a father figure, Frank S. Land was, to thousands of boys. By the way, my Masonic sponsor who signed my petition for de Molay was a Waco Mason named George Norris. Like Frank S. Land, he